both in the congressional offices and on the committees on which they serve. And Andy, I swear to God, you could point a gun at the heads of some of our key Congress people sitting on, banking committees or financial service committees, et cetera, and what they know about swaps and derivatives, what they know about naked short selling, you could fit in a cocktail olive. I'm serious about this. They read about naked short selling for the first time when they open up the Wall Street Journal, and read about Patrick Byrne's lawsuit, or when they pick up the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, and read about it on the front page, and that's the first time they've ever heard about naked short selling. Yet they're charged by the American people with controlling these abuses. So really, it's about the truth about money. It's about what this show is about. It's about getting that information out there, and about mobilizing and motivating citizens in a citizen democracy to take charge. Stop complaining, start investigating, start informing yourself, and then start your letter campaigns to Congress and doing whatever else you have to do to affect change in the world. Because if you think that it's going to happen in Washington, you're wrong. What I've learned in life at 56 years old is that nobody's really in charge. Nobody's really in charge. Whether it's the FBI trying to control the identity thefts of some 41 million Americans and relying on their chief informant, who turns out to be the chief perpetrator, or our foreign policy in Georgia, and how we instigated that whole invasion by Russia. I mean, pick the topic. No one seems to be in charge. So it comes down to the individual. It comes down to the individual citizen in a citizen democracy. This whole issue of naked short selling is a sterling example of where citizens got involved, and they gave Patrick Byrne the moral support and other support he needed to basically write the check, to the seven-figure check, to litigate this. Now, it's very interesting who his lawyers are. Aren't they the same guys that did the tobacco class action settlement?
I can't think of the name of the firm, a big Texas law firm, and they've taken it. The nice thing is they looked at the facts. This is I want to say O'Quinn is the name of the law firm, but they took this on contingency, meaning they didn't ask anybody to write a check. I mean, there was a little bit of consulting up front, but they're in it because they believe there's a huge payday at the end. And it's also nice because they get to clean up the system and look like, they're riding off into the sunset with white hats the way they did with the tobacco settlement. But these are sharp guys, and when they looked under the covers and they really saw the way the world worked, they sided with Patrick Byrne, and they're putting their time behind him. They're committing their firm to this battle, and that there's just so many little things along the way that said, there was a lot of disinformation out there. Some of the financial writers just completely tried to discredit Patrick, and I think...
Well, and not just try to discredit him personally, but there was almost a propaganda campaign about this issue, like naked short selling and market manipulation isn't such a big deal. Andy, we have 1 minute. I want to ask you a final question. Incidentally, I hope you come back. Will you come back?
Love to, John. Thank you.
Great, Andy. That made my day. My final question is this. Again, people say to me, you're such a cynic, Sakowicz. You're such a skeptic. You're such a cynic. It's almost toxic. Geez, give America a break. And then I'll come back from Washington and I'll just be shaking my head. How are these abuses possible? How is it Congress don't know even about any of the fundamental ways that Wall Street has invented themselves over the last 8 years of George Bush, with basically a total lack of regulation, a total lack of enforcement. My last question to you, Andy, is this. Why haven't lawmakers and regulators taken note of these abuses in these last 8 years? Let me turn the question to you. Why?
Boy, that's the $64,000 question, John, and I think that there will be, if there's going to be a movie about Patrick Byrne, and I believe that should be made, I think there's also going to be a wall of shame at the end of this, that it will include, I'm going to say there's a list, and it could be some regulators. I think some regulators were asleep at the switch. I believe by and large most of them are honest and hardworking, but a few of them let this, what you end up seeing is folks at the SEC who end up putting a couple of years in and then being hired away from the regulatory agency right into a hedge fund. And And it happens at a lot of other agencies. You think about those folks who were giving contracts, big contracts to defense contractors, and then they get hired away after they, gave them the big business. I mean, just this tit-for-tat arrangement. That's the first thing. The next thing is going to be, and I don't even hold the lawmakers. I think you kind of highlighted the problem there. That just their bandwidth is limited, and unless something is blowing up right in their face, they're not going to deal with it. But the other group I want to highlight are these financial journalists, and there's some great stuff. If you go to a site called deepcapture.com.
Deepcapture.com.
Deep Capture, because it's this idea of captured regulators, captured financial press. The folks that just should have really been in there looking at the problem, and they're only now kind of acknowledging the problem. That's where I think those are the folks that are going to end up on the wall of shame when this is all said and done.
Andy, I want to thank you for being our guest. I hope being a guest on Guerrilla Radio here doesn't hurt your career. You're at Progressive Asset Management, and your office is downtown Santa Rosa. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm in Santa Rosa. If anyone wants to call up and debate these subjects, because they are, they're open to debate, of course. My number is 707-575-6932.
And they can get information on a variety of issues that we're reading about in the paper right now. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
All right, Andy, my brother, you're a good man. Keep up the good fight. I love the whole idea of your company and your company's industry, socially responsible investing. In the near future, we hope to be doing a show dedicated to that. Thank you for being our guest today, Andy.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Andy.